This week, the New York Times did a podcast dealing with the extraordinary fiasco around the drug Truvada, which is used for PrEP, that we call pre-exposure prophylaxis, which is designed to prevent transmission of HIV from an HIV-positive person to an HIV-negative person. And if the HIV-negative person is taking Truvada on a daily basis, then the risk of transmission is reduced by between 92 and 99%. That's quite phenomenal. At the moment, Truvada is used overwhelmingly by gay men, but it is equally applicable to heterosexual couples where one partner is HIV positive and one partner is HIV negative, and there's no transmission, and that means Truvada is a kind of wonder drug. It's the first drug approved for prevention of transmission of HIV. Well, there are, about this story, two sides that need now to be explored, and I'll potboil it as quickly as I can. First of all, Gilead is the pharmaceutical company that markets and owns Truvada and sells $3 billion worth of Truvada a year. It costs $2,000 a month for Truvada in the United States. Do you know what it costs per month for the pill itself, the actual making of the pill? $6 a month. Can you imagine a more egregious markup? And because there are 40,000 people getting infected in the United States year after year, and they're trying to reduce those infections, the availability of Truvada would help enormously, but people can't afford it. So Gilead, which has been subject to ferocious criticism, decided to make a grand philanthropic gesture. They said, we'll give free product for 11 years for 200,000 people. And they expected the accolades to pour. But the accolades can't pour because there are serious caveats to that so-called largesse. The fact of the matter is that even with the additional free product, only about a third of the people in high-risk areas who need it will have it. In addition to that, and this is not widely known or shared, Gilead is getting a terrific tax write-off. They don't say to the tax people at the end of the year, we gave away product for 200,000 people. They say, we're going to place a market value of $2,000 a month on those pills, and they end up with a tax benefit of nearly $1 billion. Boy, is it a profitable business for Gilead. But it's worse than that, and that leads me to the other half of this equation. The sale of Truvada initially in 2004 given to Gilead was for treatment, was not for prevention. And yet in the laboratories of the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta over the succeeding years, the scientists worked to see if Truvada could be used for prevention, and in 2012 the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, said yes, it can be used for prevention, and in 2015 the Centers for Disease Control got a patent on Truvada, a patent which Gilead has ignored and never accepted or acknowledged as valid. But here's the rub, and it's a gigantic rub. The government of the United States paid $55 million for that research at the Centers of Disease Control, which discovered that Truvada could be used for prevention. It's public money. Those of you in the United States watching this commentary, it's your tax dollars that paid for it. The Centers for Disease Control is effectively a government agency. They're funded publicly. So the public money makes this extraordinary discovery possible, and a private company reaps the benefits. It's just outrageous. You know, if you prepare generic versions of Truvada, they can be much less expensive. In Toronto, for example, it's roughly $250 a month, not $2,000 a month. And because much of it is covered by the Ontario Health Insurance Plan, it's virtually no cost at all. In Australia, it's $8 a month. In Africa, it's $6 a month, as it should be. And it's all developed by generic companies in India who still make a profit at $6 a month. How is this happening in the United States? Because the pharmaceutical industry is the strongest lobbyist in the United States, and because the government, which could exercise its patent and make those profits, the government will not interfere with the private sector in that way. So as a result, Gilead laughs all the way to the bank, the government has a hands-off policy, and people who could prevent themselves from becoming infected and ultimately maintain lives are lost in the process. This is not Myanmar, Yemen, or South Sudan. This is a drug company. The government could regulate it. The government won't. That was last week. I'm Stephen Lewis.